Hey guys, it's Joey from 9 to 5 Escape. This is the fourth of the 4 video series of the head rebuild on the Toyota 4Runner 2005. Show you the final parts that we put on, just kind of general overview. Everything on the front of the engine finally went back on, from the fan shroud, radiator, alternator, power steering pump, coolant reservoir, and then the drive belt ultimately. Once everything on the front was on, we got the Airbox back on and the cover for the throttle body, and that was it.
Putting on the alternator now. The bottom bolt down there is 29 foot-pounds. The nut on the right side that goes there is 11 foot-pounds. And then one more nut on the top is 29 foot-pounds. Power steering pump's going on now. There's a nut on the top. There, these are all 14 millimeters and 32 foot-pounds. There's a bolt there. You're gonna have to go through the pulley to tighten them up, and then a nut there that's also 32 foot-pounds and 14 millimeters. Next is this oil cooler pipe. It comes up, and the bottom part goes down here into this hard line to where the oil pump is. Hose clamps there. It attaches here. That bolt down there, 66 inch-pounds. Attaches to the desk cover on the timing belt at 66 inch-pounds. This hose will be connected later to the throttle body. And the other one comes up, goes into the water housing on the top. Outer pulley is next, goes right here at 29 foot-pounds. Don't forget the little plate washer on there. Next we put the radiator on. There's 4 mount points. There's one here. The washer goes on the back, and then the bolt goes through the front side. These are all 9 foot-pounds. There's another one down there at the bottom. Right there. And to get to that one, you have to go through the front bumper, and then through that hole down there. Then on the other side, it's the same exact thing. You got the top one here, and then the bottom one you have to go through the bumper, and then through the hole down there, right there. And then again, up at the top here, one there, and then one down, way down at the bottom. After the radiator's on, there's 2 hoses. The lower one is the transmission oil cooler line, and the top one up here is the oil pump cooler line. These hoses actually attach to the fan shroud, so you can wait to attach these before you get the fan shroud in.
Fan shroud is next. There are 2 bolts. There's one here and then one on the other side. There. Over there.
Got light in.
Those are 44 inch-pounds. The bottom has to slide into some tabs so that the bottom doesn't kick out. You have to put the fan in with the shroud because it won't go in after the fact. So just put 1 bolt on the fan after the shroud. And then the fan bolts, there's 4 bolts that go around the pulley there. And those get torqued down to, let's see, 21 foot-pounds for, they are 12 millimeter bolts on the back of the fan. So the clips on the radiator, or the fan shroud, broke down here. So we just wire tied these 2 cooling hoses that go into the radiator to the fan shroud. So there's one there and there's one down there. Just zip tied them as best as we could so they don't fall off and hit the belt or the fan. After the fan is on, you can put your drive belt on. So it goes over the power steering pump, then under the alternator, then comes up and goes to the tensioner, then down to the crank, and then comes up from the crank all the way to the fan. up the crank and then around the top of the fan, and down to the AC compressor, up from the AC compressor over the idler pulley, and then back to the power steering belt. Then if you need, you can look on the hood up here. It's too much light. And there's the diagram there. Attaching the coolant reservoir to the fan shroud, there's one bolt here, and then there's one bolt underneath over here. Couldn't find the torque specs on these, but they're not that important, so just get it tight enough. Putting in the thermostat next. Put on a new O-ring. It goes around the outside of the thermostat. It goes into here. The jiggle valve, this little button here, goes vertical. And then the housing slides on after that, and then these nuts get torqued down to 13 foot-pounds. Plug goes in the reservoir, comes around, snaps into the fan shroud here, and then plugs into the radiator right below the cap here. Upper hose goes on next, connects to here, then to the top of the radiator here. Lower hose connects to where the thermostat just went on, and then runs down. Right where the hose is going, there's that black outlet. Throttle body is going on now. There's 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and then a nut that go on at 10 foot-pounds. And then this, I think it's air or water, but it goes right onto here. Actually, yeah, it's water. And then this other pipe that comes from the oil cooler goes onto here. And then there's an electrical connector that eventually go here. There's a myriad of electrical connectors that we just put on all in one shot. So obviously the whole wire harness connects to everything on the right-hand bank, the passenger side. First thing was the front water bypass joint, this electrical connector here, white one. A black one to the VVT. There's 4 connectors to the ignition coils on this side. There are these gray or silver ones that go to the fuel injectors. There's 4 of those. The whole wire harness attaches to the fuel rail with these guys at 73 inch-pounds. There's 2. There's another one over there. And then there's an electrical connector to the NOx sensor.
It's right here, basically.
Okay, so there's a NOx sensor down in there. There's a vacuum line that comes from the bottom of the intake that goes up and attaches to this here. These 2 bolts are 66 inch-pounds on top. 2 more hoses, vacuum hoses that come from the air switching valve that attaches to the back of the head. That's underneath and comes up. There's a ground wire here. It's just the screw. I just tightened it till it felt good. And then
A bolt for the housing.
oh yeah, there's a bolt on the wire harness back here. Yeah, I need light. Right there. That one was just good and tight too. And then there's other miscellaneous things that are not connected, like this that will connect later when the airbox goes on. Now we're on the driver's side, the left-hand bank. 2 fuel lines go on. There's one here that we left attached to the intake. It just snaps right into place onto this existing hose, and then there's a little bracket that just snaps over the 2. And then the second one is this orange one back here. That comes off of here and then goes onto the intake. Just push it far enough and then squeeze the orange piece down and it'll latch onto it. So on the driver's side, left-hand side, I'm going to throw all the connectors. Start from the front, move our way back. There are these 2 connectors here. They actually feed all the way down. One goes to the oil pump and one goes to the crank position sensor. Kind of hard to see it down there, but one goes right next to the oil filter and one goes right by the pulley for the crank. And then That wire connects to the air compressor down there. Right there. Then it runs under the dust cover and then connects to the cam position sensor, which is right there. It goes through that plastic connector to hold it in place. Runs up. One goes to the throttle body, and one to the VVT right there. A ground wire there. Of course, the 4 connectors for the ignition coils. The fuel injectors look like that. There's 4 of them that go across. This guy here connects up, I think that's fuel or air, I'm not too sure. This connector here, this connector here, which gets secured by that bolt. And I believe that is it. Oh, and then the knock sensor, which is this one here, next to the 3rd fuel injector. Now back to the passenger side, the right-hand bank. I'm gonna put the airbox on. Before I do that, from the, looks like the power steering pump down here, there is this pipe here that goes up and connects to the top of the throttle body and the intake manifold. And then I'll put the airbox on and describe where all the rest of them go. So the airbox connects to the throttle body here. Tighten up this clamp. This hose from the power steering pump attaches to the box there. This hose here from, I think somewhere around, it's in the top of the valve cover, attaches to the box here. The wire for the mat. There's a little harness that snaps in to this here. The bottom of this airbox goes in to the side of the engine bay, the body here. These 3 get torqued down to 9 foot-pounds, and then you can put the top box on here and plug in this mouth connector to that after your filter's in. And snap it into place and you're good to go. Last is the cover for the throttle body. There's just 2 nuts here and here that go to 66 inch-pounds. And then finally my timing belt came with a sticker. You can put the date and the odometer reading, put it right here on the cover, and you can know when you need to change it next. So it's been about 6 months since the full rebuild was done. Everything's running fine and smooth, a lot smoother than when the misfire is happening. No more juddering or shaking anymore. Check engine light's gone past the mission, so I say we're good to go. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button for us. Subscribe to the channel if you really like the video. You can get further videos and further updates on our other builds and mods. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. We'll answer them for you. Catch you next time.